Hello everyone. So today we're going to go over the Unit 10 practice test. This video will be the multiple choice questions. Question number 1. So it says to solve for x, given that 32 is equal to 8 to the x plus 3 power. So what we can do is write both sides of the equation with logarithm of base 2. So left-hand side and the right-hand side of the equation will now look like this. Which of course allows us to use the power rule to rewrite the expression as log base 2 of 32 is equal to x plus 3, and then log base 2 of 8. So each of the logarithms can be evaluated. The left-hand side simply becomes 5, and the right-hand side will have 3. So from there, we can divide both sides by 3. So we have 5 over 3 is equal to x plus 3. And finally, x must be equal to 5 over 3 minus 3, which is going to be negative 4/3. So the answer here is C. Okay. Question number 2. So we are looking at this logarithmic function on the right, and we're looking for the false statement. So statement A is true. Since the argument of the logarithm is x, we know that x must be positive. So the domain of the function is x is greater than 0. The graph does have an x-intercept of 1, since if we let y equals to 0, then we have 0 is equal to log base 9 of x, which means that 9 to the 0 power is equal to x, which means that x is equal to 1. So that tells us what the x-intercept is. Based on the domain, we know that the graph does not have a y-intercept, so since A is true, C is also true. And finally, D must be false, since if the function has a vertical asymptote at x equals 9, then we shouldn't be able to substitute 9 into the function. But if we did that, then we have y log base 9 of 9, which of course is equal to 1. So the answer then is D. D is the only false statement. Moving on to number 3. So here, one way of doing this question is simply to rewrite it as a exponential expression. So we have 2 to the x power is equal to 64. Then, of course, x is equal to 6, since 2 to the 6th power is equal to 64. Okay. So number 4 is quite similar. We are going to write, this time around, a exponential expression as a logarithmic one. So we know that we'll have log base 5, since the base was 5 in the original expression. And then the argument will be the value, so 1 over 625. And it will be equal to the exponent. So that will be equal to negative 4. Which means that the choice is D in this case. Moving on to number 5. We have log base 10 of 6 plus log base 10 of 7. So since these two logarithms are being added together and they have the same base, we can multiply the arguments together. So we have log 6 times 7 which is log 42. So the answer is A for number 5. Okay, so next up we have number 6. So very quickly here, if we look at all 4 of the choices, we can multiply the arguments together. 80 times 2 is 160. 16 times 10 is also 160. And 8 times 20, of course, is also 160. The only one that does not give a product of 160 is 48 times 112. And so the answer in this case is going to be B. So let's move on to number 7. Okay, it says to write as a single logarithm. So here we can use the power rule to move the 1/4, and also the power rule to move the 2. So the 1/4 power means that we're going to take the 4th root of 81, which is just 3. 1 square is, of course, just 1. So then the next step is to have log 3 is still just that. However, we know that the logarithm of 1 is just 0. So the expression is simplified to just log 3. So the answer is D in this case. Okay. Number 8, write as a single logarithm. So here we can rewrite the 4 as a power, and then we have log 12 still, so that's, oops, sorry, for the 4th power. The 12 stays the same, and we're also going to write 3 as a logarithm of base 3. So that would be log 3, and then the argument would be 27. Or simply 3 to the 3rd power. Then what we can do is, using the product and quotient rules of logarithm, we can rewrite this as log, and that is a single logarithm, of 4 to the 4th power times 3 to the 3rd power all over 12, which of course is just 4 times 3. So now this simplifies. I'm going to write it to the side here. The logarithm of 4 to the 3rd power times 3 squared, which of course is log 576. So the answer is C in this case. It's also possible to evaluate each number along the way. So for example, we can evaluate 4 to the 4th power, and likewise 3 cubed, it would be 27, and multiply the numbers together and then divide by 12. It will still be 576. But it's also good to note that the numbers are involved are powers of 4 and 3, and or the product of 4 times 3. Okay, so let's move on to number 9. X-intercept of the graph. So if we're looking for the x-intercept, we can simply let y equal 0. So we have 0 is equal to -5 log base 2 of x plus 4. Of course, we can divide both sides by -5, so this simply becomes 0, and then equal to log base 2 of x plus 4. We can rewrite this in exponential form. So this would be 2 to the 0 power is equal to x plus 4. to the 0 power, of course, is 1. So we have 1 is equal to x plus 4. So finally, x is going to be equal to negative 3. So the answer in this case is B. Okay. So next one, number 10. So here we have, what is the domain of the function y equals log base 2 of negative 4x minus 5? So the argument is going to be negative 4x, and we know that that must be greater than 0 because the argument of a logarithm must be greater than 0. So if we're to solve for x in this case, we can divide both sides by negative 4. Notice that when we divide a inequality by a negative number, we change the direction of the inequality, so we just have x is less than 0. So the answer is B. Okay, so let's move on to number 11. Okay, we're trying to simplify this logarithm here. So number 11. So we can use the power rule to move the 2 first. So we have x squared here. And then we can use the quotient rule to rewrite the expression as a single logarithm log base 6. And then in the numerator, we have 9x minus 1, and it will be divided by x squared. So the answer in this case is B. Okay, finally, for the multiple choice, we have number 12. We are to solve for x, so in this case, we simply can divide 18 and 3 using the quotient rule for logarithms. So on the left-hand side, we have log 6. On the right-hand side, we have log x. And therefore, x is equal to 6. And we have the answer C. Okay, so that's it for the multiple choice question. We'll continue with the short answer and problems in the next video. Thank you for listening.